on a very special edition of In the Arena tonight. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, surrounded by urban art and public murals, my guest became inspired to be involved with the subculture of street art. And the Arrest for Vandalism put him on a mission to legitimize the production of aerosol murals. This became the main focus of his work. Public murals that fused the graffiti aesthetic with the classical training he received from the American Academy of Art. As co-founder of Arcade Design, a graphic arts and mural collective, he's produced over 400 murals, received mural commissions for corporate clients such as Coca-Cola, Toyota, Red Bull, the Village of Rosemont, and a solo gallery show at the Southside Community Arts Center. He's also produced illustrations, brand identity, and print projects for Frank 151 Magazine, Argus Brewery, and the Chicago Jazz Fair. Through the Chicago Public Art Group, as well as After School Matters, he has provided instruction for young people in mural painting techniques, as well as mentored young artists in their craft. Joining me in the arena right now, in the studio that bears his name, muralist extraordinaire, Rahmaan Statik. Thank you for welcoming me and us back into your space. Our relationship began maybe 3-4 weeks ago now?
At least 3 weeks ago.
At least 3 weeks. Yeah. Another partnership that we have with Visible Mail Review.
Yes.
They are an incredible book club that's about to come to our air just after a week or two after this conversation.
Okay.
And we came over here because they do their monthly book clubs in venues across the city, getting into the community, coffee shops, all incredible places. And for our first time working together, they were doing it here. So yes. We came over for a site visit. I paid less attention to the planning of the site visit than looking around this space. I remember as our production leader, Louis Roman, having the conversations, I'm in your business, walking around, looking at the work, taking it in. And during that conversation, you all were planning one thing, and I said to you, I want you to do my show. No offense to anybody else planning this. It's going to be great, but I need you to do my show. And you immediately went, absolutely. And I said, I want to do it here in this space. And you said, absolutely. And then we got into, as clearly as going to be our pattern now, a kitchen table conversation.
Yes.
That we were standing there, and it was just already a underpinning for me how much my gut, which is spirit for me, was correct the moment I saw you. You certainly have a lot to say, but you also have a lot to say and a perspective that is one, I think, right now in times such as these, so important. So with all that said, let's go to the beginning. Let's begin at the beginning, shall we? You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
When and where were you born?
October 5th, 1980, Chicago, Illinois, Mercy Hospital. It was a Sunday around 3:30 in the afternoon. That's what I know, that's what I was told. My OBGYN was a doctor by the name of Dr. Michelle. Knows I work with his daughter now, believe it or not. She's on that, like she works with Chicago Public Art Group, Chantel Hilly. That just ironically came together, and we just discovered that through a conversation. Small world, that is.
And it always is, yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. There are always, I think, because I believe in divine order, the signs and the energy is there, and you can receive them when you're ready to.
Yes.
It becomes clearer the more you're ready to. But let me stay focused on you. Tell me about the man and the woman who created you.
The man and the woman that created me. In some cases, it's women and men, right? But the first singular man and woman that created me, Felicia Barnes or Felicia Johnson and Gregory Stone. Felicia Johnson, my mom had me, she was in her early 20s. I was the second child, I'm the middle child. She's currently a retired nurse. She still resides in the city of Chicago, but me and her give each other space. My father, when we know spaces, we gotta, sometimes all parents and all children don't fall out, but I refuse to feud with elders. I always rather keep my silence, bite my tongue, and walk away rather than your last words being with me. Something negative right there, because tomorrow is not promised. Now, My father, on the other hand, rest in peace, Greg Stone, a train mechanic, worked for Amtrak. Very blue collar, old school dude. Used to ride a motorcycle. People used to say he looked like Prince.
Yeah.
My stepdad, Ricky Johnson, Dr. Ricky Johnson. They didn't work out. My mom remarried my stepdad, Ricky Johnson. Dedicated medical doctor, worked in emergency rooms. He's doing work in the emergency room in Gary, Indiana, back in the '90s, when Gary was infamous right there. Right? He had a lot of wild stories Saturday morning, but it gave me perspective. And why I got to mention him is thanks to having a career of a doctor household that created the grounds for me to make a career out of art. In order to become an artist, you need necessity. In order to have necessity, you can't be struggling like that, right? So that kind of created some space for me to become art within the environment that I'm in.
Yeah, a bit of a luxury with a mom and one of your two key father figures being a doctor.
Yeah, my mom was a nurse though, so they met they met on the job.
But that even for all the other burdens we carry simply by the skin tone in this country, you did at least have some breathing room to imagine a bit more than perhaps others would have.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned 3 siblings, you're in the middle. Tell me, from oldest to youngest, what is the age gap? What's the difference?
My sister's 4 years older than me. My little brother is 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
70s instead of 90s.
Good grief. What were the relationships between you and your siblings growing up? I know that's a unique definition of growing up with the one who's 10 years younger, but what was it like growing up together versus how you manage your relationship and partnership as adults? I always get
and you know what? I don't want to it's an eclipse, Arctic night.
Come on.
And an equator day. It's that contrast. It's that level of range.
Okay.
It was all so simple then. We were all kids, right? As adults, hey man, it is what it is. We're all common people. We may be related, but we're all the average Joe problem. As the average Joe walking down the street, you can't predict who these people are. Some people may be, a person may be a murderer to a genius. Yeah. It's that drastic right there. But once again, I have a philosophy where if I love you, I know you an elder. I will speak my truth, right? I'm not going to sit up here and just not be that passionate. You had no idea we didn't have issues, but I'm not going to continue to fight you over those issues right there because I made my point already, right? Tomorrow's not promised from none of us. So I see it as if that might be the last time we ever speak. Okay. I prefer for it not to be an argument. I don't want to live that with that on my within my mind right there.
And it is, I would suspect, a philosophy I have. Because my goodness, family dynamics. My late brother and I were 18 months apart. And for the last year of his life, we didn't talk. And he passed away on Thanksgiving 2007, had a massive congenital heart failure at the age of 40 on Thanksgiving 2007. And one of the legacies he's left with me is what I think you just talked about. We can still love each other without sitting on the front row.
Yes.
You don't. So it's powerful for me, just from my own experience. It resonated as you said that. And you are right around the age that my brother and I were. This is now 2007 to now. And that you have that and that you live in that. I just want to mark that moment. That's powerful. And some of us, it took a little longer to get. So let me ask you my next question.
Yes.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to St. Martin de Porres High School, and Southside College Prep. The school is currently Gwendolyn Brooks. Chicago knows of it as Mendel.
Okay.
But I was there when it was a Catholic school.
Okay.
It was a co-ed Catholic school back in the mid-90s.
Okay.
Prior to then, though, I did go to Dunbar for one semester, and one semester I transferred to Catholic school. Let's just say that, yeah.
Okay. And did you continue on to college?
Yes. I attended the American Academy of Art. I majored in multimedia web design, and I minored in fine arts classes, right? So I was learning how to build websites in oil paint at the same time. It took me 5.5 years to get a 4-year degree.
Listen.
It went down like that, but I got what I came for. But sometimes it takes that, though.
And that is the other thing I love about the privilege of having these conversations. For folks who look like you and I, and folks who don't, there is not one path. There is not, and college, while I am a staunch advocate, college ultimately is not for everyone.
No, it's not.
We know the benefits of it, but
Yeah.
But so what I love hearing these conversations that we get to have, I've spoken to top leaders who for 10 years, I think of Felicia Davis Blakely, for 10 years started her career in the police department, had children, and did not go to college for 10 years.
Okay.
Started. And then she said it on air, we are taught to have some shame if it's not that straight through. And I believe
That straight through was wild. If it, like, when you finish a straight through, it felt like you finished some bid in
You've
some
got
institution.
PTSD
I did 20 years straight in school. You know what I'm saying? Like straight through, right?
But I know folks who do that, quite frankly.
I was burnt out in jail. I didn't want to do anything else after the bachelor's. I was done.
Me and you
20
both.
years of that. I'm a veteran of school now. Like
I went to undergrad at Wayne State University in Michigan for a year,
Yeah.
getting great grades, and then I got a career promotion. I was like, we're done. We're done here. Yeah. And I know people who do it.
Yeah.
And I say, so again, there's no right or wrong. It's choices. But I know people who went all the way through, and I call them career college students,
Yeah.
went all the way through with a PhD, but didn't have work experience. And I just had this conversation with someone yesterday who is in education,
Yeah.
and she was coming on one of our shows.
Okay.
And I said, here is what's, she said, I'm asking people, what was is there still value in college? And I said, I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
I went to University of Michigan, it was wonderful, but it wasn't the education. Sure, it was a great education.
Yeah.
It was the social skills. It was the meeting my good, who became a good friend, a Jewish woman from New York, because Michigan had a large contingent.
Yeah.
U of M had a large
And that's
contingent.
the University of Michigan. There's a large student body.
Absolutely, and it's
a lot going on up there.
Yeah, it's like. But I said, but here's the thing, and I've told students this when I worked at Chicago State. The biggest thing I got from U of M was the paper, because in this world, looking like me, everything is done to keep us out of the room. So for me, for what I imagine for my life, it was always strategy. That paper, open, that still do today. They don't ask what my GPA was, how I did in classes. That paper, though, is one less thing.
Specifically from that institution, though.
Yes.
From that institution, though.
It was strategic. Because that was the one institution that did not want me early.
Yeah.
They did not offer me everything. But back to you. Were you a good student?
I was, man. I graduated. By the time my last grades came out, I had a 4.0 GPA. I aced it, man. Like,
Were you a good student throughout in high school and elementary school?
Wait, can you please repeat that question?
Were you always a good student throughout, or did?
Oh no, I started like in school once I got in art school. I hated school from the 3rd grade into high school. I graduated from high school on time with no summer school. Passed all my classes. But I was a professional C average student.
Good. Okay, yes.
All right, I hated high school that bad. I got accepted into the art school that of my choice when I was a junior in high school. So by the time when I did that, I'm like, yo, all I have to do is graduate.
Okay.
That's all I gotta do. All I gotta do is graduate.
So you graduated high school grudgingly. You did the work. It was strategy.
Wait, hold on, because I knew I was getting passed up in the real world. Like the school schedule and school time is its own clock. The real world is a 24-hour clock that connects with everyone right there. The school schedule is too much of a bubble, and it's too much a bubble within the nonprofit sector energy to where somewhere on the end of the educational system, someone has to give all of something without getting anything tangible in return. A lot of times the student body, that is, and a lot of times it be faculty and teachers. They give way more than what it is they have to give, right? So, no.
Yeah, and you said something to me, and then it begets what I also would suggest. When we spoke the first time, we talked about, I believe, the oxymoronicness of an institution that doesn't have a library.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, man.
Share your thoughts on. We don't have to name any institutions unless you want to, but tell me why that makes absolutely no sense to you.
If you're an institution of education, why you need a library and why it looks crazy for you not to have a library is because it kind of defeats the whole purpose of it being a school. So like no matter what you define a library as being, you still need some kind of collective space where you go there and do research and collect information, non-biased information, to gain more experience right there, right? Where's your experience at if you can't study the individuals that came before you? So it's a thing where it's like a bike missing the pedals. That's what a school looked like with no library. You just go push around on something with some wheels and a seat. That's not even a bike no more. Yo, your school isn't a school no more.
Your school.
It's not even a school no more if it lacks a library.
Yeah, and then we have to redefine.
I'm not fronting. I'm not being... we're adults here, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
No, if you're missing the main function of that for your business, it's not the same business.
And then the question becomes, what is then your definition of education if it is not? It's the very thing, speaking of books and libraries, it is the very reason why insisting upon free people being able to read freely matters. It is the expression of ideas. It's not even the words on the pages, but if education is to create thinking people or to help support that, then that feels like to the very core, I have to ask you then, have you changed the definition that we all understand broadly to be education? What are you trying to create? Are you trying to create folks who just do certain things, cogs in the world? What are you doing? I have another question for you.
Okay.
I said in my opening to this episode, I intimated that there was an arrest for vandalism for someone sitting here, not me, as a teen.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that arrest changed or expanded your view of what art really is, or what art is for you.
Oh, as it relates to art. So my teenage arrest for vandalism, as it relates to art, with me right now, right?
And you could tell us about what the vandalism was.
That arrest kind of created, for the city of Chicago, a cultural monster, right? So, like, in other words,
and that monster is you.
And that monster is me. Yeah. I'm like I'm the creative insurgent to many, right? Like a creative terrorist, right, if you will. But like the same people that arrested me now want to give me a job. They now want to come and hang out on the walls. They're not opposition anymore. I'm not a threat anymore.
And were you, was it vandalism related to graffiti?
Oh, sure, graffiti. I was scratching in on bus windows in the 90s. If you rolled the bus anywhere, you see dudes etching their names in there. Yeah, that was me when I was a kid. Yeah, that was something I worked when I was a kid. Right, because I had no idea how to paint. I didn't know about all that, right? I didn't learn how to fully paint until I was in art school and college. CPS art programs are trash, right? We call them out, right? It's professional artists. Not unless you go to Lane Tech. No, CPS art programs are trash. And I've worked as an art school in CPS, and I'm not biting my tongue on that, right? At best, it's arts and crafts, but it's not art. And it's not an incubator in which someone could develop themselves as an artist, especially with school with no library, right? Like, so like, what you gonna do, man?
So right now, again, your work is, there's layers to it. Every time I look at that piece that we talked about when I was here for the first visit, something new, and maybe it's where I am when I walk in and experience it. But let me ask you, for you, as much as you can for me and our viewers, do two things for me. Describe for me, or what is your definition of, what are the components of art to you? And then what keeps you passionate about the work? What motivates you to continue to create? So one, if I were to ask you, define for me as best you can what art is, and then two, what is it that's driving and fueling your passion? That clearly started as early as a teenager. We called it vandalism, but that was, you were doing work that now has a name and is being, you're getting paid a living for, and people want to engage. So answer those two questions for me. What
is art? Is your first question. Art, that answer has a few definitions, right? Like a dictionary definition, right? It may be creative expression or creative output from a human being depicting the human experience. So, like, in other words, you have a story to tell. You have your own unfiltered way of telling a story, whether it be singing, dancing, drawing. Second definition is creative output from your fellow human being that affects your senses, right? So like culinary arts, visual art, audio art, right? All art connects with the human, with the five senses of you being a human being right there. And all art caters to that. And you have some art that is all of that, right? Yeah, I would say between creatively interacting with the human senses and or a human being telling the story of the human experience, I like via unfiltered expression. So like unfiltered is unique as your fingerprint. So how you tell your story is how you tell your story. There's no right or wrong way of telling your story. The very wrong way of telling your story is a very biased view. That's what we make bad art versus good art. There are many trash by optics, right? Those are bad documentaries. You know, like it is many. We're not gonna name no names. Many trash by optics, right? It's like, yo, how you go narrow this whole person's career down to a bad relationship? No come up story, none of that.
No, so there is such a thing as bad art. And what I got from what you just said before you answer part two, art, if I'm hearing it correctly, art speaks to the human experience, and it works best when part of that experience for us receiving is that it elicits.
Yes.
Even if it's I hate this or it makes me angry, art elicits a visceral response,
emotion, response. It triggers you.
Like
Lastly, third definition, art from a scientific perspective, right? As a professional and coming and being classically trained, I use the scientific method to produce art. So there's a lot of trial, error, take note of it, look at the better results, merge those results, make better art. Right? And you're not getting stuck on the same thing you was doing last year. You're forever in competition with your last resort, with your last results. So like, in other words, that's another perspective of what art is. It's producing art. Let's just say you have a narrative you want to express, right? How many ways can you express this narrative? And how many ways can you express this narrative and you're looking for the outcome to be the greatest narrative ever told? It's entertaining. Everybody can relate to it. There's a lot of trial and error to go through. There's a lot of trial. You may have to put it in different languages. Might have to put it in sign language or something like that, right? But there's a lot of different trial and errors to like hit it off just right to that many people, right?
You know in your gut for you, at least for the creator, how we receive it, you may not have control over, but for you as the creator, you know in your gut when, after all that trial and error, it's ready to share.
The audience is a whole of half of the process. The audience. Right, the audience is a whole other half of the process. Who's going to look at it? The more people pay attention to it, the more it's valued right there. If no one sees it, is it really worth that much? Especially in the world we're in right now, where a lot of stuff is dictated off of social media likes and revenue right there, right? Your audience gives it power. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave it at this. Very side statement, right? It's been a debate for a while, and I had a final answer. The real fifth element of hip hop is the audience. Nobody shows up to a venue, it didn't happen, it wasn't worth nothing. If nobody showed up to Cedric Avenue in the projects, the Cool Herc was DJing, we're an urban legend of the Bronx, New York. Right? If no one's buying those No Limit albums right there on the trunks, platinum albums would be nothing.
So it's the tree in the forest. It's the tree in the forest. If no one hears it. Okay.
But then again, though, you could be a person that's a part of that audience, see it like man, I want to do that one day. And you could actually do it one day, be that person on stage within the better 5-6 years, right? It could happen. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's what I learned as far as what skewed my perspective of art is my relationship with hip hop and hip hop culture. Is like, it taught me a lot of stuff as far as like respecting your audience. You're not in the bubble right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be worth something, somebody got to be talking about it. If no one cares about it, no one's going to be talking. If no one cares about it, if no one's critiquing it good or bad,
I've got a thought
even
on
bad
that.
critiques matter.
I have a thought on that when we come back.
Okay.
Our Chicago, we are going to take a break. This gentleman, this is a creative artist, and I will continue our conversation for one final segment, 3 for the road. Stay with us. You stay with us. Thank you for this part, but we've got a little bit more to go. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
On the next Chicago Newsroom 2.0, mass exodus. What's behind the increasing number of companies moving their headquarters out of the city? We'll unpack the issue with Block Club Chicago's Jamie Nesbitt Golden and Emmy Award-winning journalist Samantha Thomas. Join the conversation Wednesday at 7 p.m. on CanTV Cable Channel 19 or stream live on cantv.org or on the CanTV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
Brother Static. This is a segment called Three for the Road. We have had people who are both well known and well worth knowing. And I'm so proud to add you to the list of folks who have sat here with me and to thank you because this is our first in the 40 episodes or so we've done in the arena. This is the first time we've taken the show out of the studio at CanTV.
I feel special.
You are, brother, and thank you for that. But this segment, Three for the Road, I have seen some incredible people get tripped up. I don't think you're going to have an issue with it. So let's just dive in.
Yeah.
You ready for question
Let's
one?
do it.
If you could have dinner with any person, living or deceased, who would you choose and why?
Bruce Lee.
Come on, why?
This dude came through and single-handedly made violence look beautiful in terms of contemporary art and film. From art and philosophy. I'm speaking from a philosophy and art perspective. Come at me.
Come on with the brilliant answer. Come on,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Come on. Question 2.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
Do I have any regrets?
Regrets, yes.
The project I didn't finish. The film project where the high 8 tape broke. I was supposed to put out a spray paint tutorial video in the era of DVDs in 2004. My tapes got messed up. On the project failed and it was never published.
You had those regrets right there in the barrel.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like any project is not finished. Is a dead project. Is a failed project. If it's finished, no matter how people like it, it's something, right? Failed project that no one saw with no audience. It's a failed project.
Yeah, we're going to circle back to that. Let me ask you the final question in this Three for the Road. One piece of advice present day Static would have given to his 21-year-old self.
Dream big, and learn how to think, learn how to separate your two heads, player. From man to man. Learn how to separate your two heads. Don't be getting sidetracked in these episodes where you have no business being, you got better business doing something else. Learn how to separate those two heads, player.
Now that is not for everything.
And dream big. Those two. Yeah. That's it.
For everything you've just given us in this 30 minutes, that final answer right there, that is worth this entire show's weight in gold right there. I do want to go back in our very limited time, and is part of why you remain passionate about art the very passion you showed when you talked about the definition of it? Is that what literally drives you? What keeps you passionate? You have been prolific in your production of work. What keeps me passionate is the spiritual aspect of me producing art. Where I feel like I'm on a mission from God to create a new renaissance for the society we're in. And I believe I can save the world with art, right? Just by creating and being a part of productions that get people to be more of their higher selves and evolve as a person. In a nutshell, I want to create a new renaissance for art to be more spiritual based, less disposable and commercial. Brother Static, doors of the church are open. It is never enough time. Thank you. Thank you for one of many conversations. And thank you, Chicago and beyond, for tuning in. Let me leave you with a final thought for the road, courtesy of artist Henri Matisse. Creativity takes courage. Until next time, take good care of you and each other. Good night. Bravo. This is amazing.